So if you master all of these pillars to create your brand, whatever business you will have, you will be able to differentiate yourself from anyone else. So anyone that has a business in a very competitive market, I'm telling you right now, I don't even know what business you're into. If you have competitors, branding is your biggest advantage to separate yourself from them and to create this unique part in the market where people will flock only to you and not the others.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nick Matei, and you're watching the Digital Enlightenment podcast. Today, I have Olivier Soliveres. We recently met on Facebook in a group. He was asking for some help on an offer, and I just raised my hand, told him what I'm basically doing over here. He liked what I was doing, so I helped him out with that, and then it ended up turning into a way for me to realize that I needed some help with branding, and he helped me out with that big time. I'm really excited about the suggestions and the advice that he gave me. It's really going to change the course of what I'm doing in business right now. So I want to say thank you for that, and welcome to the show.
All right, thank you. And you're welcome again. You've been a great help. It was the least I could do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So this is a little bit different today, guys. Up until this point, I've been saying, that I'm highlighting people who've gained success in their lives as entrepreneurs. But I've recently just come to the realization, working with Oliver and then a couple other people, that it doesn't really matter what path that you go down. What it does matter is that you have the ability to choose what path that you go down, and that you still are able to gain success and bring value to the world anyway. So, yeah, basically, my first question for you is, what is it that you do, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
To be honest, even today I struggle with that, answering that question, because it can do so many things. But if I had to boil it down to a single sentence, it's helping entrepreneurs grow themselves and their business. And I do this with two approaches. The business approach, I do it with something I like to call holistic branding, which is the idea of helping a company implement branding into every single action and person and process they take. And the second thing is that I use a PNL and sort of personal development to help entrepreneurs get the right mindsets when approaching certain problem.
Mhm.
And combining both, I'm able to, well, like I said, help entrepreneurs with everything business related.
Okay. And the second part to that is, like, how long have you been doing it?
And how long I've been doing it? So during COVID, I realized that mindset was a big issue. Being locked in with myself made me realize that, along with a few other things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same time I started launching my first business in COVID as well, that aimed to provide these particular courses to young students. And so these two together made me evolve into the holistic branding side that I've been doing for a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's about 3-4 years.
Okay. So you started out as your own business, but now you're an executive in another business doing that service?
Exactly. So
Okay.
it's a bit more complicated than that. I started my first company during COVID that failed miserably.
Uh-huh.
We all have to start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Um, Went to my dad's place because I couldn't handle the failure.
Mm-hmm.
He made me realize it's not a failure, it's a learning opportunity, which was a very big mindset change. And when I went to work again in Tunisia, that's where I moved not too long ago,
Mm-hmm.
I met this person that was in charge of one of Africa's biggest branding agencies. And he told me, I want you in my team. I can see like good potential in you. And very quickly I was offered the opportunity to be a part of the executive team behind one of their projects. I'm now launching that project as a startup in France in a couple months.
Wow, that's so cool, man. It's crazy how, life just takes you on these turns. You thought that you failed, but then you realized that no, I didn't. And then when you made that switch, you
Absolutely.
you found your next step to success.
And the best part was the fact that I was doubting myself, my mission in life. That doubt, I feel like, is part of the entrepreneur's journey. No matter who you are, what you do, you always have that doubts.
Yeah.
But going through it is a very different thing than just knowing it's going to come.
Yeah, there's definitely a dark side to entrepreneurialism that isn't really
Mm.
spoken about in social media, especially. Everybody's highlighting, the greatest parts of it, but there's definitely this other part
Yeah.
that, either makes or breaks you, and it seems like it made you. So I'm happy that you
Mm.
went through that because you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't.
Exactly. So am I. I'll be honest. So am I.
All right, so next question I got for you is why did you get into business in the first place?
So getting into business was not a decision I had starting in my life. I was always into Hollywood movies and all that, watching them as kids with my father
Mm-hmm.
after dinner time while we're having dinner. And he told me, you know what, I'm okay with you doing actor, but first you need to secure your life with something a little more tangible in case it doesn't work. And so up to that point, I used to always listen to adults, go to their table and not play with the other kids
Mm-hmm.
and try to understand what they're talking about, economy, markets, market share, market cap, what is all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always had this curiosity around the adult life and the adult way of doing things. And then I realized there's a special breed of adults called entrepreneurs that basically tend to grow the most and have the best life when it works.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of growing at the time at every level in terms of mindsets, in terms of personal skills and all that was very appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that if you want to change the world, you need to learn to be an entrepreneur at some level. And I saw all the skills that were required to be a good entrepreneur. I was like, all right, this is ambitious enough for me to just want to go for it and reach for the stars.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I definitely went through a very similar journey to you. I actually went to an art school. I wasn't
Okay.
not an actor, but a musician. So I
Uh-huh.
had that similar dream as well. And then also, I resonated way more with adults than people my own age. I definitely
Mm.
always looked up to, adults because I wanted to see how, my life could possibly pan out. And then, just fortunately enough, I came from a family that was entrepreneurs. Like, I had a lot of male uh, adult figures in my family who were entrepreneurs. So I definitely spent a lot of time at the table
Okay.
trying to figure it all out too.
It was thanks to your environment that you became an entrepreneur.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But yeah,
See.
so, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I see.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so then bring you already been talking about it a lot, but my next question for you is like how has mindset played a part in uh, your success journey in business?
So the mindset part is actually a very good question because I've very recently changed my way to approach it, and it's been yielding great results. I'll get into that later. The first thing that it helped me achieve was clarity.
Mm-hmm.
It is the single most important trait you should have as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
If you have clarity, you'll have motivation. If you don't have that clarity in your day-to-day lives, you just sort of float around. You see where life takes you, where the current goes, and you're not the architect of your life. Basically, you're the victim of life.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to put it in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
the fact I gained clarity by just going in a random park, not without my phone, without headphones, without any single electronic device, just a pen and a notebook, and writing down everything I would want in my life, everything I didn't want, all my resources, and what resources I would need to achieve that vision I had. And the difference between the two became a roadmap for the years to come. And this has helped me put my life into a lot of perspective, gave me a lot of motivation. Before I used to focus too much on what I didn't have. Shit, I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money to start my business. I don't have that. I don't have that. And reframing it as, okay, what resources do I have and what do I need to achieve my vision? Suddenly you have a plan to get those resources.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first big chunk of mindset that really helped me. And the second one was understanding that failure is necessary. It's hard to understand it from someone who avoided failure at all costs from a very young age. Until I met a mentor that told me, Oliver, I want you to fail on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that your goal becomes to fail, suddenly you have this huge chunk of pressure that relieves, and you're able to just make the biggest, baddest, worst mistake you'll make in your life. And by doing those mistakes, you will learn way more, way faster than if you try to not do anything, but try to do it the right way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of your question, when I said I recently changed my way of looking at the mindset thing, is I realized that I was focusing too much on mindset at one point.
Yeah.
I thought mindset was the answer, and if you have the right mindsets, everything's going to fall perfectly, and it's going to run super smoothly. I'll have the answer to every single problem if I do all my research. Turns out it's the absolute worst way you can go about doing things, because all of a sudden, the moment you need to take action, you remember all the lessons, all the books you've read, all the videos telling you, watch out, there's danger here, 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 and here. And before even starting to take action, I would envision all those things that could possibly go wrong, and I would not do it. Straight up not do it. So the best advice I can give to people that want to launch certain business, that want to do certain things, first you do, then you improve and you learn.
Yes.
But if you try to learn and improve before even doing it, you can do it, but don't overdo it, because it's going to be a huge pain before you even started doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I've definitely seen that in my own life. First off, failing forward. You said something earlier. It's not really a failure. You have to look at it as like an experiment. Like you're collecting data of what worked and what you don't prefer, and then you do need to do mindset work to be able to even begin, but you don't get stuck in that, because then it becomes the thing that actually holds you back. So that actually takes me to my next question, which is, what skills have you needed to be able to become successful in business as well? So I'm talking about like hard skills, not like a mindset trait, not like a character trait, but actual hard skills.
So actual hard skills wise, my life I've been trained to become a digital marketer. My dad was already into the business world. My mom didn't work at all. And my dad's approach to the business world was just, he was a computer engineer to begin with. And so from a very early age, I learned how to use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, while I was learning to twiddle my thumbs and play video games on, I think it was the PlayStation Portable. Great console, by the way.
Right.
And at that time, when I began to actually go to high school, because we say college in French, sorry, high school, I would start classes, and when I would have homework, I would just go home and do them on Excel for math, because it was so much faster. When I went to university, knowing how to use all those formulas before anyone else could even do that was a huge competitive advantage. And even today, in my day-to-day life, knowing all the keyboard shortcuts and being able to nail down twice as much work as the person next to me, just by knowing how to use technology more efficiently than the people around me, huge skill.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, knowing how to Google stuff. Just knowing how to Google stuff can make you sound like an expert in any single subject in less than 2 hours. You don't know how to do coding, but you need to get an app working. You use Google the unconventional way, and you will yield unconventional results.
Yeah.
Other than that, what really helped me get a big edge on everyone else, it's the fact that I would create process for everything and try to improve those processes after testing them for a month. So I would have a result I would want to have. I would create a process to achieve that result, and I would continuously go back to that process and be like, all right, now that I've experienced with it, is there anything I can do to improve it, to make it more efficient? And especially with tasks that are very repetitive. Like I did community management at one point, and I realized I would spend too much time trying to make the background design look very appealing and all that. And when I saw all that time I would spend just making design and how much I would actually just posting and answer messages, I was like, there's something wrong with that ratio.
Yeah.
Came back, created templates that I could just reuse as much as I want, and it streamlined my entire process of doing things. So that's the second biggest hard skill. The third was just marketing, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing marketing has so many transversal skills that affect a lot of other things in your life.
Yeah.
Being able to present things very simply, in very effective manner.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like negotiating with sales.
Mm-hmm.
It's very powerful.
Wow. That was a great answer. That was probably the best answer I've gotten so far from doing these podcasts. So yeah, you said a couple of things that I really, really resonate with. Have you ever heard of the trivium?
Not familiar with it, no.
Yeah, so this is basically like a classical way that we used to get educated like 100 years ago. It's been around for a long time, but there's different ways of saying it. Like it's traditionally been called grammar, logic, and rhetoric. But today we understand it as knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So what you were saying originally, being able to Google stuff, that's you getting the grammar of a subject. That's you being able to understand all of the language that's involved with it, all of the moving pieces that's involved with it. And then you said that you went and basically learned how to iterate. So you learned how to basically put things to test, gather data, and then look back on it and see whether or not it's working the way that you want it to, and then course correct. So then that is the logic piece to it, seeing how the pieces of grammar go together and being able to look at that from all different angles so that at the end you could have rhetoric to be able to transfer this knowledge or be a master of the knowledge in itself, or and be able to particularly transfer the knowledge. That's the whole part to wisdom as well. You become wise to the logic of the knowledge. So you just explained all of that without using those words, but that's the way that I like to explain it because it gives a very tangible way to explain it. But then going back to what you were saying at the end, that's exactly the skill set that you have as a marketer to be able to promote your idea and get other people to buy into it. So it's really amazing that you are able to articulate that in such a powerful way there. I really like the way that you explain that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I try to, as a marketer, I have to present things in a very appealing way, understandable way. So yeah, thank you.
Anytime. So yeah, then it brings me to my next question, and we haven't really touched on this throughout the conversation. I'm really interested in understanding how technology has played a part in you becoming successful in business as well.
Technology is always, there's a lot of people that put a connotation on it, whether it's good or bad. They always want to attach it to a way of looking at things, a way of doing things. I just look at it as a neutral tool.
Yeah, me too.
And by looking at it as a neutral tool, I can very easily see that whatever I do with it can take me to great heights on the positive side, or it can take me to the worst lows on the negative side. So back when I was a kid, I would always go to the negative side, playing video games, trying to watch a lot of TV, and then going back to school and trying to discuss with my friends what happened in that TV series or how to get past that level of video game. So I didn't really comprehend the positive side of technology. When my dad made me stop playing video games until I learned a few skills in PowerPoint, Excel, and all that, and only then I could play video games, he brought a certain balance to how I would view and use technology. Since that day, I've had this opportunity where I look at technology in a way that allows me to get a competitive edge on other people. ChatGPT, for example, has been huge in that regard. And it's a true skill to know how to use ChatGPT and an even bigger skill to implement it at all levels of your life to streamline everything. As I mentioned before, I like to take process and reiterate them to make them more efficient every time. ChatGPT has been a huge help for me because it allowed me to take a step back that is quite neutral in terms of how to look at things, a very logical way, and proposing different options I didn't even think about in the first place has been huge in that regard. The other thing is that I realized very quickly when I went to school and people didn't know how to use Excel and didn't know how to use PowerPoint, that knowing how to use these tools better than anyone else can yield to some very interesting results. And I'll get into an example I've had the other day. I was doing an internship when I was in India for a manufacturing company that did, I forgot the name of the part, but their head accounting manager was using Excel to write reports, typing in a calculator the entire formula he needed to be done, press enter, recalled, saw the result, and would type that result in Excel instead of using an Excel formula.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see how much time he would spend on that. And at the end of like 2 months, he would hand over the report to the manager that said, all right, good work. See you next month for the report. I went to him and I'm like, dude, you can just like press this cell, type equal to, and then like use the formula, and you have your entire calculation done within a fraction of a second.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hold that button, drag it all the way down, it does the calculation for every single cell, every single row and all that. And he saw the huge gain in time and efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
His first reaction turns to me and says, please don't tell my boss. But that very example, I've seen it with a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that stayed common with this example was that people didn't use the full extent of their technology they had between their hands and fingers. Take your phone. How much of your phone's actual capabilities do you think you're using right now?
Probably 10%.
It's peanuts.
Yeah.
Peanuts. With the power of a single smartphone today, we were able to send people on the moon a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how people were using technology back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact I understood that from a pretty early age made me very much realize that technology is a competitive edge for anything and everything. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm sort of a geek. That's why I have those latest technology headphones, latest technology laptop, because I know this is a competitive edge on anyone else.
I definitely see the advantage of that. I could only imagine being the manager there, having some kid tell them like, "Hey, you're wasting tons of time, energy, and attention when trying to do this." But yeah, a lot of people think that ChatGPT is going to eliminate people's jobs, but it's really the people who know how to use ChatGPT who are going to eliminate these people's jobs. So
yeah.
It sounds like you really got the benefit of understanding, like, hey, if I master technology at a young age, and that gave you a powerful advantage over the competition when gaining in the path of gaining success.
And the best thing about technology is that it's not a one-shot skill, I'll say. In terms of creativity, is something where you mix 2 or more elements that you already know, 2 or more concepts that you already know, and fusing them into one new concept. Mm-hmm. If you know how to use a lot of different technologies, you have a lot more things you can mix up.
Yes.
And so when presented with a unique problem with technology, I will have at least 4, 5, 6 different ways of looking at things. And each one of them would have advantages, disadvantages, and all that. Mm-hmm. And having that big pool to just pick from, again, very big advantage to have.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that. So I just got a couple more questions for you. Mm-hmm. One of them is, what strategies are you currently using in the business that you're in to help grow it?
So my process process when I'm trying to grow anything is simplifying it down to a way even a 3-year-old can get it if I told him about it. By doing this, it allows me to break down problems that take my entire head. I'll think about it day in, day out, lose sleep over it, because I don't have the answer. And I'm like, it's so complex, it's so hard, there's so many components to it. But if you simplify it down by a lot, you realize that the logic suddenly becomes much more clear. For example, the company I'm trying to grow is in need of cash flow. Except there's the bank we have to pay every month, and then there's the income that we receive from the clients. And the amounts that we have to pay every month started to match the income we had. And I would focus my head around we need more money, we need more clients, and I would only focus on getting clients, because for me that was the only source of revenue I had when thinking about the problem. But when I broke it down to the most simple way of looking at things, I realized, all right, what comes in, what comes out. So what comes in would be the new clients, but I realized there's also something else that's coming in. It's the different partners I would have, would organize sometimes events, would invite me to these events, and I would sometimes do business at these events. So instead of just cold emailing clients, I realized, wait a minute, I could go to these events and find new clients. All right, so I wrote it down on a piece of paper, what comes in, what comes out. And being able to use this methodology, I quickly realized that in business, there's only 3 components that you need to master. And mastering them 3 will scale any business. And that's the principles I use in my day-to-day life. First is brand. Why do I put brand first? It's because if I did advertising without doing any branding, my advertising is not going to be very effective. I'm losing out on a lot of power potential. Sales is the same thing. If I don't do my branding, I don't really know how to present my offer in a way that differentiates it from my competitors in the market. So the first thing I really mastered in order to grow my business was my brand. Second thing, once I have this very strong base called brand, and by the way, I can go into even more details for those of you that are very curious about brand. Brand is built with 4 pillars. First, you have something we like to call the brand platform, which is basically your vision, positioning, values, mission, and all that. It's the matter, basically, that you will use to build this brand. It's the bricks, it's the ingredients of a recipe. Then you have the brand universe, second pillar. The brand universe is how visually you will communicate those ingredients, those bricks. So it's your logo, your graphic charter. Wait, that's not how you say it in English. It's color scheme, for example. What different patterns or elements will always keep repeating themselves throughout the brand. That's brand universe. The third pillar that a lot of people miss out on is called brand reduction. Generally speaking, if you have a business, you're not the only stakeholder in that business. You're not the only one that's operating the business. And people think that brand should always spread to the outside. I'm like, wait, before you spread it to the outside, first spread it inside, make sure people love it, and adhere to the brand, make sure all of them understand and unite each other around that brand, and only then do you propagate it outside. And so that's brand induction, being able to spread the brand inside. So it's anything like brand culture, welcome packs. I've even seen some examples of elevator pitch. Being able to pitch your business within like 1 minute is a very big skill that's important to create like internal ambassador. That when they go to their family, their parties and everything, they can just go like, hey, what do you do for work? And they already have like this pitch in their head with all the information, the key information they should communicate. And lastly, it's the propagation, like how to spread it outside. So it's on your sales tools, on your social media accounts, the graphic, the events management, what events you would do, public relations, all stuff like that. So if you master all of these pillars to create your brand, whatever business you will have, you will be able to differentiate yourself from anyone else. So anyone that has a business in a very competitive market, I'm telling you right now, I don't even know what business you're into. If you have competitors, branding is your biggest advantage to separate yourself from them and to create this unique part in the market where people will flock only to you and not the others. So we've accelerated the power of your business with the brand. We've accelerated the flow of clients, which is like open the tap to the full potential with the second pillar. The third one, because you're gonna have so many clients flocking to your business, you won't even know what to do with them anymore. You have to focus on your resources and how effectively you can use them. Mm-hmm. And that part I like to call organization. Mm-hmm. So inside, it's all about leadership. How do you take decisions? How do you communicate them with your teams? Do you think about what would happen if you left the company all of a sudden? Is the company still going to keep working? Then there is the process. What kind of process have you implemented and how can you make them more efficient, effective to get more work done with the same amount of effort? Then you have the quality of life of your employees. Do you have all their needs met in order to be as productive and as happy as possible and spread that happiness around other people? And lastly, it's just technology. Like you mentioned before, I'm still convinced technology is a huge competitive advantage. Mm-hmm. And if you have the best technology and you know how to use them to the full potential, you're just way more productive than anyone else on the markets, and you have the ability to do twice as much work with the same level of effort. And so my strategy to grow is just use these three core principles.
Wow. That was very well articulated. You definitely thought so deep into that. Did you put all that together yourself just through learning everything?
Did.
Wow.
So because I work with what I call holistic branding, mm-hmm. I use that branding aspect and implementing it throughout all those three pillars. And it's helped me understand that brand is literally the super glue that holds everything together. And because everything is held together and points to the same direction, you will be so much more efficient, so much more productive, and convert so many more people into your business, into loyal clients, mm-hmm. that you just win. It's almost like a cheat code. And I base my business around doing that, a diagnostic around that, basically. So that's why I had to think a lot about it into simplifying this method as much as possible and make it understandable by anyone, by any age.
Yeah.
And that's the results you're seeing right now.
Wow. So much respect to you, man. I love to. I have a similar mind to you. I like to coalesce ideas and then be able to make my own thing out of them. And you're just doing that on such a high level. I can tell that your intellect is just very strong. That you just honestly blew my mind. I love the way that you articulated that. I'm definitely gonna keep on rewatching this and then see how I could pretty much implement all that in my own business.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Mm-hmm.
Last question for you. Mm-hmm. Where could people find you? Where would you like people who are watching this to go and find you online?
So online, I have a business I'm working right now with a company called Domino Brand that does everything I just talked about. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you can find me on Instagram at Mustashiva. I'm sure Nick here will write you the name in the comments or
I'll put the link in the comments in the description.
All right. Mm-hmm. And other than that, that's pretty much it. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I try to post an article every now and then with like tremendous value, but I still try to keep the best part for myself. I'm still reworking on them, and maybe, who knows, I'll be writing a book soon, so you should be able to have all this information in one place.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for that. I'd love to read it, and just want to say thank you for your time and for your information today. It's been absolutely amazing. This has been one of my
You're
favorite.
very welcome. And
What?
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Being here is amazing as well.
Well, we'll basically try to get you on the podcast sometime in the future again when you roll out the book and everything, and then see what you're doing then, if that's okay with you.
All right, for sure.
All right. Well,
That sounds lovely.
thank you, and we'll see you soon.
And thanks again, Nick.